I am Sam Otten, and with me is Jason Book, and in this video we are going to be talking about the Supergirl premiere, which the pilot just aired on CBS. It actually had some good ratings that it pulled in, brought in about 13 million, and it kind of won the night. The only thing that was rated higher than it was Big Bang Theory, which is kind of expected, and had ended up being the #1 trend on Twitter by the end of the episode for the US. I don't know about up there in Canada, but I'm assuming it had a pretty good reception up there as well. So it started well. We're going to dig into what actually happened in the episode and our reactions to it. So, Jason, what was your take on the episode overall?
Well, I thought it was okay. Kind of what I expected to like is what I liked. I thought the actress did a great job as Kara and as Supergirl. I thought the costume was really good. And I actually was pleasantly surprised with Jimmy Olsen. But a lot of the other stuff I really didn't dig. I think it's going to get better as the series goes on, I hope. But yeah, I was kind of... Some things I enjoyed and some things I was disappointed in.
So, is Cat Grant one of the things that was maybe a little bit disappointing?
Well, to tell you the truth, except for the way she looks, the Cat Grant character was actually pretty interesting. Like, you know, because in the comics she was kind of always kind of fawning after Clark and stuff a little bit, right? And she was like a single mom and stuff like that. And here she was kind of an ice queen. And I mean, it made for an interesting character on the show to be like that, but it didn't have a lot of dimension at the same time.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say about Cat. So, like, Cat Grant was not one of the high points for me in the premiere.
Right.
But I think that she might work out well over the long haul because in this episode, they introduced her. They wanted to introduce her in a very potent way, but she didn't get a lot of screen time, so she basically only hit one note.
Yeah.
So it was kind of one-dimensional, but I don't think it's because the character is going to be one-dimensional. I think it was just because they had to accomplish a lot of other things in the premiere.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But I really enjoyed it. I mean, I just had a good time watching it. I liked Melissa Benoist. I thought she had a lot of charisma as the lead.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fun what she brought to the character about this kind of like, you know, her parents sent her off with a mission to watch over Kal-El, baby Clark, but she ended up, you know, not being able to do that because of the way the Phantom Zone worked out and stuff. So she's a person who's trying to find her place, but it's not just a normal kind of person trying to find her place. No, it's actually like she knew that she had this mission. She's trying to fit in. It's kind of like on several different levels. And so I thought it was great to see that joy coming out and that excitement of, first of all, she's, like she said, I'm finally being who I am. I'm kind of like coming out as who I'm supposed to be when she's finally doing these heroic things.
Yeah.
But also just having this joy of like, okay, I'm actually finding a place for myself. And I thought it was cool to have a hero who is excited to be doing heroics. Like, she's like, wow, this is kind of cool that I just saved that plane. Or like, it's kind of amazing that I just saved those people.
Yeah.
Which I think is a nice addition to the superhero landscape right now. Because I like a lot of the stuff that's going on, but I think Supergirl's coming at it from this different angle where she's not out for revenge, or she's not like begrudgingly, you know, having to do this super. No, she's like excited and thrilled that she's finally able to do it, and she's hoping that her friends are also supporting her in it.
Yeah, I would agree with pretty much everything you said there, because once again, that's really referring to her character and her portrayal of the character. It was great. My problems were more with some other, you know, parts of the cast and kind of this, you know, behind the scenes, you know, government agency. Suddenly she's just thrown into that. And I thought the villains were not very strong. And you know what I'd really like to see, Sam, is it's one of the things I always thought I wouldn't like about a show like this, but I think we need a real good female villain for her to fight. And we may get that, but yeah, they need to kind of step up some of that stuff. All the stuff you talked about, though, was very strong, though.
Now, so this is a spoiler alert for people that haven't seen it, but in terms of the female villain, it'll be curious to see. We have Kara's mother's twin sister, so this would be Kara's aunt from Krypton, who came and we see at the end of the episode, is kind of leading over these Kryptonians who have this kind of plan to maybe take over Earth. So we have a female villain in place, but I'm not sure how long it will take before she is kind of like the first-hand villain. It might be that she's just pulling some strings for a while. So like she might not feel like the villain in terms of facing Kara. But she is going to be a female presence in a villain sense overall, I think.
Which will be cool, but even that, when they showed her in the last scene of the show, she didn't even look different at all from the character that was supposed to be her mom. Like they didn't even change her hair color or anything. So
Mm-hmm.
I think they could have made that a little more, cut and dry. Obviously, we know her mom had actually died on Krypton, but they could do better, is what I'm saying. I would like to see a formidable physical female presence to fight Supergirl. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, and it might come to that, like at the end of season 1 or something, is my prediction.
Yeah, yeah.
I think before that, it'll be just that she's pulling the strings, and we're going to have more of the villain of the week kind of coming in. I liked the idea of using Fort Roz, which my familiarity with Fort Roz, I think, came from like The Last Son of Krypton by Jeff Johns and Richard
Sure.
Donner. That's
Yeah.
where I remembered it from, at least when I was watching the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a cool idea because Kara's coming from Krypton, and she kind of inadvertently brought this Fort Roz with her. And it's kind of a Man of Steel type thing where unwittingly and unknowingly, by her coming to Earth, she kind of brought these problems with her.
Yeah, I don't mind that actually, but
I think it's a nice way to get a villain of the week, like, where that can explain why there might be multiple villains that she's going to have to face throughout the season.
Yeah, I just worry about the special effects a bit because to me, Superman especially, and then to me, Supergirl should have the same level of effects. It's really hard to match that on TV where you're going to get in a movie. And, some of the flying effects were good, some were okay, some of the fight type, special effects just weren't up to that level that I'm kind of used to. And I don't know, it kind of takes me out of it a little bit. Like I'd maybe like it to be maybe a little more grounded and work its way up to things like this. So you kind of have, I don't know, like some of the best Superman stories are, kind of the starting, and we don't necessarily need an origin from when she's a kid, but kind of, not jumping right into everything and taking its time, and that way when things happen, it's more special, I guess, to me.
Yeah, I see what you mean about the special effects. I mean, there were a couple spots where
yeah.
I think me and a lot of us, we've been spoiled by so many good movies that have really great effects, and they can do that.
It's true.
And so now we just kind of start to expect that from everything that we're watching. And even though they're giving the show a budget, they still can't rise to a blockbuster movie level where they have that many months and that much of a special effects team and stuff. So there were those moments where I'm like, oh, that didn't quite look as good as we maybe hope it would look. But I always, because it's a TV show, I always give it the benefit of the doubt for that kind of stuff.
Sure, sure.
And I think, too, it kind of worked okay with the tone, because with the tone, it's kind of like, I felt like Supergirl was kind of inviting me to just go along for the adventure, have fun.
Yeah.
And just like she said, at one point, I want people to be excited for me, and I was thinking, like, I'm excited for you, like, let's go do this. And so I kind of was willing to forgive some of those little glimpses of the special effects. And you're right, there were some spots that looked really nice, but then there were those moments where it was like, oh, it wasn't quite perfect.
Well, yeah, like, you remember with Smallville, like, what they did really well was, obviously the effects would look dated now, and even at the time they weren't as good as movies, but there was a lot more going on in the episode than those big set pieces, so you kind of had your time to build to those moments, and then you weren't, let down if it didn't look perfect. But Supergirl really was trying to be pretty ambitious with the special effects, so... I think we'll get some more balance with that. But she was great. Jimmy Olsen was great. I even liked the nod with Dean Cain and Helen Slater. That was really cool.
Yeah, and I think we'll see more of them, which will be nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think this episode was really ambitious because it really tried to lay out a lot of things. And I feel like it was a fun way to kick it off. But I think probably the strongest thing about the pilot was just that it put things in place for the future. Like, I'm excited to see the dynamic between her and her sister. I thought it was nice that they actually already gave it some complexity rather than just one note between the two sisters. And we're going to have the sister dynamic of Kara and her kind of, stepsister, and then also the sisters of Kara's mom and twin sister. So I think there's going to be these kind of parallel sister dynamics. I'm curious to watch the triangle of Wynn, James, and Kara and see how that plays out.
Right.
I think that Cat Grant is going to become an interesting thing, and she's going to kind of be fleshed out as a boss. So all that stuff. And then, of course, the bigger tension of Fort Roz and, the Kryptonians, what they're going to do in the long game. So, like, for me, one thing was like, man, there's a lot of stuff that I just want to keep watching it. So that's, I think, a good sign. So even if the pilot, if you just closed it and looked at the pilot, there's maybe some critiques you could have. In terms of the pilot making me excited for the season, it definitely did that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, her performance of Kara and Supergirl was so strong that I'll definitely keep watching it. And I wasn't super disappointed. It's just that my expectations were pretty high for it. The superhero landscape on TV there's some good quality stuff out there. So when something else comes along, it's really got to kind of make its own, which I think it's going to do, but it's got a lot to live up to. So I'm definitely going to keep my fingers crossed for it.
Yeah. I will say one thing that it has going for it was I had my little boys with me and my wife, and we were all sitting as a family and like checking it out, and the boys got pretty excited and were yelling, like Supergirl. So
That's cool.
That was something that doesn't really happen with Arrow or with Gotham. So that's kind of fun
yeah,
for me.
a little more family friendly, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
So,
that's always good.
Yeah, I think that was definitely fun too. And I like what CBS is doing. They've got it for free on their app. It's actually free on iTunes.
That's
so
cool.
They want people to pick up this pilot. And also, I just heard, I haven't watched it yet, but I heard on CBS.com that you can watch the pilot with commentary from like Ali Adler, the producer and writer of the episode.
That's pretty cool.
And maybe the director or somebody else, Glenn Winter. But I think that's cool too. I think it'd be curious to hear them talk about it as they put it together.
Oh, well, that's kind of neat that they're doing that. I mean, it's anything more interactive is always good.
Yeah, and I think the more people you can get to watch the pilot, then that gives you a higher starting number. Because you're going to get a little bit of a drop-off, but the more people you can try to bring in, you try to keep that number up through the season.
Yeah, I think they're off to a good start. They really just have to keep, what they're doing, which is make her interesting apart from just being related to Superman. And I think on that front, they've succeeded, so that's good.
Yeah. And I thought it was cool how they handled Superman here, and they said they have something planned for like episode 2 or episode 3 where they're going to explicitly kind of say why Superman doesn't come around all the time. So this one, he got referred to a lot, and we saw him in silhouette, but he didn't come, and I think they said they have a plan to kind of just deal with the fact that he's not around all the time. And then they said that they just want to make it Supergirl's show. They want to focus on her, and I think that's good.
To tell you the truth, the way they explained it already, if they didn't do anything else, I'd be fine with it. I think it was an interesting way of dealing with it, and plus it's a totally different city. I don't even remember that city from the comics, so, I mean, he's not going to be there anyways.
Right. Okay, cool. So we're both, it wasn't perfect, but I think we're both on board for following the show. I'm pretty excited about it, so thanks a lot for checking out the pilot episode with me.
Yeah, for sure. We'll talk about the other ones soon.